is tripped up, reaching to the end zone. Touchdown. What a start.
Give it to Reed, and there he goes. Nobody's going to catch him. Touchdown.
It's caught. Jeremiah Smith. Touchdown, Ohio State. The legend grows.
This is Chasing the Natty, a college fantasy football podcast. All right, welcome in everyone. It is Sunday night. That means you know what time it is. It is time to do another 30-round CFF live draft stream. We are here once again to do that and to answer all of y'all's burning questions for college fantasy. This is always a great time. Love doing this every single Sunday up until the start of the season. It's a great chance for all of us to kick back, lay back, and just talk about the players we're drafting, talk about what you guys want to talk about. And joining me this week is my fourth founder of Campus2Canton to ever join me on this stylish show, and that is Mr. Austin Nace. Welcome to the show, Austin. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm good, and I'll ignore the fact that Colin got to go before me, and I'm here to have a good time.
He beat you by about 3 years, buddy.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. How did he do? Do you remember?
Actually, I could probably look that up. I can go back.
The floor is low. I feel like.
You know what? It might have been so long ago that I didn't actually make those real best ball leagues back then. Because that was, I wonder if that was a thing I didn't do until like year 2 of doing this. And so I'll go look. I'm curious. If I go back in the league archive now, where is, let's see, starting in, this would have been 2022, I think. Live draft, no, that would have been 2021 then. Let's see, do I have my live draft still?
Look it up after if you need to.
No. This is too funny of an idea. No, unfortunately, it does not look like I kept that league, unfortunately. So I cannot tell you what Colin finished as. And yeah, I guess we'll just have to pretend that he got last place. And if you beat that, Austin, then you're good to go.
I feel like we don't have to pretend. I feel like that was probably the most likely outcome. So that's what we're sticking with that.
For sure. Anyway, y'all, for those of you who are tuning in for the first time tonight, really appreciate all of you guys. And again, just as I kind of said at the top of the show, what we're about to do here in about 7 minutes, a 30-round CFF best ball draft is going to get started. Just a $5 chip in, winner takes all, very laid back kind of league, but just enough to keep people honest and make sure that people are drafting to win. I have done it before where they are free, and all of a sudden I had one guy taking 7 Florida State players in a row, and I decided that was the last time I did that. But in addition to that, as much as Austin and I would love to talk about all of our favorite players and all the guys that we're drafting throughout the draft, we're here to talk to you guys as well. I know Austin likes talking to you guys. I like talking to you guys, and if you got questions for us, throw them in the chat. We're here to talk to you guys. Again, whatever direction you want us to go, whether that's talking about the tight end 3 at Sam Houston State, please don't do that actually, or even if it's like just general college football questions, or, you know, I saw Superman this weekend, so if people want to hear my review of the new Superman movie, I'm happy to give that, but only if you ask for it in the chat. Speaking of other things you can do, if you guys want to support the channel, quick and easy way to do that. 1, make sure you are subscribed if you are not doing so already. 2, make sure you like this stream. It tells YouTube that you guys like what you see here, and it helps us get in front of the eyeballs of people who might be interested in this content. 3, if you're already subscribed, if you already liked this show, awesome, appreciate you guys. Take that little share button, send it to a couple of your college football buddies. Like I said, we're here to talk college fantasy tonight. We'll talk about a bunch of players, but we're here to talk about the college football world. We love the sport. We'll talk about anything you guys want to here in the chat. Already see we got a couple of interesting topics going on in the chat, Austin, so I guess we'll go ahead and start there since we've still got about 5 minutes before the draft here. I know that before the draft, Clay Mountcastle, which is an awesome name, by the way, mentioned before he was interested to see whose stock has dropped, and I actually have some data behind that. It's not something that we provide on our website or anything, but it is a sheet that I have in our ADP sheet. Austin, maybe I do turn this into something we put on the website at one point, but I can actually tell you whose stock dropped from May to now. At quarterback, Jake Retzlaff, obviously, given that whole situation, but a couple of other guys. Braylon Braxton out of Southern Miss has dropped a little bit. Giovanni Lopez in North Carolina. CJ Carr out of Notre Dame, which is interesting because I figured he would have gone up, basically winning that job since the spring. But, at running back, a couple of guys that have kind of dropped a little bit. Freddie Brock out of Oklahoma State's a pretty big one, I would say, as people are getting more uncertain as to what that backfield looks like. Sam Scott out of Wyoming, I think, took a pretty big hit during that G5 Hive episode where it sounds like Taron Kelman might be pretty big into the mix of RB1 there. Let's see, wide receivers, obviously Evan Stewart, given his injury situation. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think those are kind of the big names there. Austin, on your side of things, I know you said before the show that this is your first CFF draft of the offseason, which shame on you, considering that you are a resident CFF expert over at Campus2Canton.com. What are you doing, man? Is there anybody else in your mind, Austin, that probably should be dropping in stock? Obviously, I named some guys that are dropping in stock, but any names that come to mind in your head that say you think should be dropping as we get closer to the season?
I'm interested to see what happens, and I don't know where the wide receiver 2 for Auburn has been going in drafts, depending if you believe on that offense or not. But with the Malcolm Simmons arrest last week, it doesn't sound particularly good. Never really know with Hugh Freeze and college football in general, but I'm interested to see if maybe there'll be some movement there with some of those guys, Singleton or whoever else maybe solidifying themselves. That's the first one that just comes to mind real quickly. But yeah, I mean, I think you kind of listed off a lot of the ones that are kind of on my mind too.
Yeah, and some of them with their legal situations, or Retzlaff trying to basically throw an entire wrench into college football and still make the transfer portal a thing even outside the transfer portal windows. Which again, I legitimately hope that Retzlaff is unsuccessful in that. The entire sport will be thrown into a tailspin if these players are going to be able to transfer even outside of those portals, and it just makes the portal the portal windows completely irrelevant. So yeah, kind of hoping that he is unsuccessful in that venture. A couple of other questions here. Let's see. We got Tommy Harvey asking us about Kirby Voorhees or Angel Johnson for the Washington State backfield. Austin, do you have a strong opinion on that?
I actually haven't drafted either of them this offseason. I've done a lot of supplemental drafts for, C2C leagues. So I've been getting some of those kind of reps under me. I mean, do we care enough about that backfield to be aggressively acquiring one of those?
So
I feel if I'm really interested, I'll just take the second one off the board. That feels like one of those to me personally. But
I think that's a fair take to go about it. I'm also going ahead and switching us over here to the draft stream since we're going to start here in a few minutes. So I want to be prepared for that. The Washington State backfield, again, for those that don't know, Jimmy Rogers comes over from South Dakota State, where they've had a very successful running game the last couple of years. And so let me see if I can pull up the stats here real quick. Again, I'm doing this on the fly, so y'all forgive me for how slow I'm being here. But basically, let's see, where's South Dakota State? Oh my God, I can't type. I want to have some actual stats behind my explanation here. Where are you? South Dakota State, and then rushing. Oh, got to take it off the All-Star. So yeah, last year, Amar Johnson in 15 games, 192 yards, 1,236 yards, 14 touchdowns. Now, granted, 15 games there, right? But even still, that's quite a successful rushing attack right there. And then even go to 2023. Right, in 15 games, 236 rush attempts, 1,500 yards, 18 touchdowns. They've typically had one back that has been uber successful. Even though they split up more, they just run the ball so much that even though it's a split backfield, you'll see a guy typically get himself enough to get there. Now, is that Angel Johnson or Kirby Voorhees? I lean Voorhees. He's healthier. He was younger. Him and Angel Johnson seemed kind of close last year, so I'm going to lean towards the upside of the younger guy. Draft has started. I was out with the 101 spot. I took Desmond Reed. We'll get to some of the other questions here in a second. But Austin, you're there at the 1-4. What are you kind of looking for here? Oh, you're on the clock now. So who are you going to take?
Oh, am I? That came up quick. Man, so I know this is a little contrary to what some of the folks really like at C2C. I love Bryson Washington this year. I just love the Baylor offense this year. And we've talked about this when I've been on some shows in the past. I like a running back that's just attached to a great offense that can get some of those cheap freebie fall into the end zone type deals in addition to the volume he's going to get. I really like him this year.
No, it's an offense that I don't blame people for investing in. When you have a quarterback, your top running back, your top wide receiver coming back, I don't know off the fly how many of their offensive linemen come back. But again, it really does feel like so much of that returning production is there that you just expect them to pick up right where they left off. And you feel like it's a very safe bet. You're also in the Big 12. You're not talking about grabbing a guy from the Big 10 where God knows what sort of monstrous defenses he's facing every single week. Could run into a situation where, he's stuck at 40 yards and a touchdown, just playing against like the likes of Penn State or an Oregon or something like that. Washington should be free to score most weeks unless there's a secretly elite defense in the Big 12 that I'm completely unsure of. If there are any Big 12 fans out there that want to tell me about one of those secretly elite defenses, drop it in the chat.
Maybe Utah.
Well, yeah, Utah. Yeah, that's actually a very fair point. I'm still not entirely used to Utah being in the Big 12.
Yeah, no, me neither. None of it makes sense.
But no, I like that pick there. I'm honestly kind of surprised. Again, I'm free to say it because I know he's not going to make it back to me, but I'm surprised Dylan Edwards is kind of still on the board here in the back half of the first round. He's been a guy I've typically seen kind of solidify. Oh, there he goes. But he's been a guy I've typically seen solidify himself in the top 5 picks. So I think Buffalo Shoes got pretty good value there.
My only worry with him this year and why I just kind of prefer Washington a little bit and maybe a couple other guys. It's just I just don't know how much of his stuff Avery Johnson's going to eat into. And I think that's a little concerning for me.
Yeah, but that's the same thing we kind of worried about with DJ Giddens last year, right? And DJ Giddens, if I can pull up that real quick, I think he's still finished in the top, like what? Where are you, DJ? Yeah, top 25 running backs last year. So I think he'll be fine. I think he's got even a more elite ceiling when it comes to the receiving upside for it. I could see him easily getting 5, 6, 7 targets every single game.
Yeah.
And so let's see other questions here while we were kind of waiting on it to come back here. Oh, by the way, Brad Douglas, appreciate you tuning in for the first time live, man. I'm sure you've watched the replays and everything, but it is a fun time when you're here live because you get to ask all the questions. Let's see. Robert Flores says, who's going to head the Liberty backfield? Austin, you have any strong opinions on that?
I literally don't know the players involved in the Liberty backfield. I have the CFF guide up on my phone, and I was like, let me see if I can find Liberty's page real quick and make some answer here. I have no idea.
Again, I'm leading towards Julian Gray. It does sound like that he's kind of it's him, and I forget the other. Let me see if I can look it up real quick. Liberty depth chart. There's I know Sea of Red was kind of really the first ones to put it out there. And then, Julian Gray. Oh, Von Blue, of course. Those are kind of the two major names I say are involved there. But it sounds like Von Blue is going to be used more of like a bruiser versus Julian Gray kind of making that switch from wide receiver to running back full time now. Seems like I think he's got the higher upside. Again, having that receiving background will help him a lot. And again, having wide receiver eligibility for CFF, I think he's like... They both go late enough that I'm just going to take the shot on Gray, I think, every single time. If he doesn't work out, he doesn't work out. Here's one that I think you'll be more interested in, Austin. I'm going to stop asking you about the G5 guys for a while. What about the Ole Miss backfield? How do you feel about that?
It is actually a situation I've completely avoided this offseason. I don't have a good lean on it. I haven't done a lot of digging into that backfield yet just because I just think this is a year where they might. I know they have a new quarterback as well, but I think they're just going to chuck the ball around a ton again. I'm actually not too. Whoever gets that job, to me, it's not like a sexy thing, especially with how talented some of the guys are behind whoever gets that job. So that's probably not a great answer for this show. But I haven't been targeting it at all.
Again, Shakai Mills-Knight and Keywan Lacey, I think most people would agree are the two talent picks in that backfield. Well, Logan Diggs, a veteran coming back from injury.
Healthy?
It sounds like he is healthy, but I wonder what healthy looks like, right? Again, dude's 9,000 years old. He's coming off an entire year's worth of, not being around. Like he's not played football for quite a while now. And you're on the clock now, Austin. Who are you going to go here?
All right. So I am going to go. This is full PPR, right?
Full PPR.
I'm going to go Deion Burks. Okay. I just think the volume is going to be pretty nice there this year for him. I think he's the only wide receiver in that team that necessarily fits kind of what that offense is naturally.
Mm-hmm.
So.
No, I agree. I've been seeing Burks slip into the third round recently, and especially in PPR leagues, I think you have to go after him at that price. Like, I understand that some people are worried about his health. I understand some people are worried about that offense, converting in year one. Dang it, other Austin for taking McAllister. I thought I was going to get lucky there. Now I got to go back to, oh God, I don't like any of these options y'all left for me here. This is absolutely disgusting, but I'll take a guy here that I haven't taken a lot of this year. I'll take Caleb Durham, get some receiving upside there, kind of a talent pick. And then quarterback. I don't trust any of the wide receivers to fall back to me here, so I'll just take Elijah Surratt. It's a bit of a reach, but when I'm on the turn here, I just got to take the guys that I want because they're not gonna make it back to me if I know they go in the 3-4 range. So,
tell me on Surratt's volume for this year. You just think upgraded quarterback,
upgrade a quarterback, and I don't think he needs as much volume as we think he does, right? So I've got him projected at 90 targets, which is what he's actually averaged the last couple of years. And he's averaged about 16 yards per catch. And so that, like, his reception percentage is really kind of elite for a guy on the outside at 73.8% of his catches he reels in. Maybe that's unsustainable. I'm not entirely sure, but it's still kind of crazy that that's what he's averaged over 2 years. So again, very reliable with his hands there. So you give me that 90 targets and 16 yards per catch, that's a 1,000-yard season right there if he can kind of put it all together. So again, like obviously, Mendoza being healthy the whole season really helps him out there. But I think he's one of the safest floor options for wide receiver this year.
Whew, I saw Washington pop up there. I thought my guy was going to be gone. I'm going Boston. I'm going Boston. We talked that Campus Life is not out this week yet, but we recorded it today. And I think Boston's one of a handful of guys that has the wide receiver one upside, depending on DeMond Williams and how he does this year. Mm-hmm. So might as well take the shot here.
Obviously, health was a concern last year, but does it kind of concern you that when DeMond was in the games, he wasn't getting as much, just not as much funnel vision towards Denzel Boston? Or do you think, again, it was more health?
With a full off season and I think they're going to hand him the keys a little more than what they were doing with specific packages for DeMond last year. And I think he's the kind of guy that scrambles a lot, but scrambles to throw. And I think Boston is kind of a natural target for a guy like that. And then I just think he's the most talented, like first read on so many things that they run anyway, and an offense that we've seen be pretty expansive in the past and support a very similar relationship with Fafita and Tet. To me, it just feels personally like if they're both healthy all year, that I think we just see a big season. So.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. My only question really is who's that wide receiver 2 for Washington? Because I think that there's some legitimate upside there, especially whoever ends up playing that slot. I know Kevin Green's kind of what people expect to play in the slot right now. As somebody who used to beat the drum for Kevin Green, I haven't been impressed with him when I have seen him out there, and that tells me that if he is in the slot, that position is not going to hold as much value as it had in the past. But I said the same thing about Giles Jackson, and he surprised me last year.
Surprised me too. Yep.
And so maybe it's just a spot that's going to be productive. That is where we saw Jacob Cowing produce for Jed Fish and his offense for 2 years, even with Tet McMillan on the outside. So maybe it is just a system play. Just go for it, no matter what the talent is there. But I'm kind of hoping that either Amari Evans or Rashid Williams kind of get pushed to that inside spot, and they have one of their more talented guys fill that spot. All right, it's coming back to us here, but let's see if we can finish up some of these questions here. Shane asks, Jonte Cook or Justice Ross Simmons for wide receiver 2 for Q's? Shane, my hot take is I think Cook might be the wide receiver 1 for Q's. If he gets his head on straight, he's the most talented wide receiver in that room, and he'll be likely playing in the slot where Trevor Pena has been the last 2 years. Yes, Jackson Meeks on the outside was the more productive receiver for Syracuse, but you give me a borderline 5-star guy playing in Fran Brown's offense with either Ricky Collins or Steve Angeli thrown to him, I think there's a decent shot that he's the wide receiver 1. So I guess that answers my question. My thing is, I'm not entirely sure whether it's Darryl Gill or Justice Ross Simmons who will be the wide receiver 2 on the outside. I like Gill. I like what he gave us last year in his limited run. But the talk, at least when you listen to the summer school episode around Syracuse, they seem to talk about Simmons a little bit more. I'm not entirely sure what to do with it there. Austin, you're on the clock, but what are your thoughts on the Syracuse wide receiver situation?
I mean, I'm a little biased because I've been a huge Jonte Cook fan since he came out of high school. But and I've been drafting a ton of Gill just to get a piece of it. I think if wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2, if we trust that they're going to chuck the ball around like that again this year. I'm going to do something a little dumb here, but it's fine. I'm going to take Alejado because there's multiple options to stack with him. And so I'd rather take the quarterback and not pray that he falls back to me instead of trying to take Ashlock there. So, but yeah, I if you think they're going to chuck it around, then I've just been taking a lot of Gill, and I actually haven't taken a lot of Ross Simmons yet this year, but in C2C formats, he's sitting around out there. So,
no,
later.
Ross Simmons is definitely the cheapest of the bunch, and I don't think he's a bad shot towards the end of drafts, right? Like if Gill and Cook are going off so much sooner than him, he's got a legit shot. Not necessarily be the wide receiver 1. I would say I think if he is involved, he'll be definitively the wide receiver 2. But wide receiver 2 for Syracuse, as we saw last year, plenty good. My pick's coming up here, but I do want to give my quick thoughts from Alan Rust here. He says, thoughts on Jordan Dwyer being the guy over McAllister. Alan, I recognize bait when I see it, and this is absolutely going to work because I am going to go to bat for my boy Eric McAllister. Eric McAllister last year legitimately might have been the best wide receiver on TCU, and the only reason why he wasn't out there is because they had 2 legitimately good options at wide receiver in Savion Williams and Jack Beck, both guys that got picked in the NFL who were veterans, right? Give McAllister another year to really learn the system, but when he was out there, he impressed. Let me put my second pick in here. I don't want to wait on that position, I think, but nah. Gotta hit running back early. I'll take away Sean Parker here. Anyway, looking at Eric McAllister's stats the last couple of years, this dude has such an elite ceiling. Like, his yards per reception over the last 3 years, 23.5 at Boise State in 2022, 18.6 at Boise State in 2023, 19.5 at TCU last year. His yards per route run have been fantastic, 3.81, 3.03, 2.89. Like, there's a lot to suggest here that, 1, he's translated well to the Power 4, and 2, he can easily step into a wide receiver 1 role with Josh Hoover passing him the ball. And so I'm excited to see what he has with that entire wide receiver room cleared out. Jordan Dwyer will be involved. I think he'll start on the opposite side of Eric McAllister, but you also have to remember this is a guy transferring up from not the G5 but the FCS. We'll see how Dwyer does, but I'm fairly confident in McAllister. What do you think, Austin? Or you're on the clock. What do you got?
Yeah, I am. And I was really trying to get Demond there, so that hurts a little bit. Screw it. We'll do this. We'll take Mateer. And
2 quarterbacks early on.
Yeah, I don't really like that, but now I don't have to take one for a while, and I probably won't, which is fine with me. So yeah, I was hoping either way Sean or Demond would fall to me, and neither of those did. So here we are.
Oh, so that's why you grimaced a little bit when I took Parker. Yeah. I thought you didn't like the pick.
No, I'm kind of weirdly in on Utah's offense from like weird angles. I'm not sure I really love Dampier, but I like Parker a lot, and I kind of like Hunter Andrews, the tight end H-backy dude that's there.
No reason to ever hate on a Utah tight end.
So that's kind of been my ways into that offense this offseason. Yeah.
No, you don't like any receivers though?
Not as of today. I mean, maybe someone ends up breaking out, but no, not today.
All right, Austin, here's a question for you that's definitely more up your alley. Brad Douglas asks, who do you think are some good sleeper freshmen in C2C leagues this year?
Sleeper freshmen. If we're just talking, like, I hope you're not asking like what guy you think could play this year and like do well, because I think those ones are kind of a little more difficult to predict. Who's that freshman wide receiver that's at Washington? Because I almost brought up his name earlier when we were talking about.
Oh, Raiden Vines-Bright.
I could see him by end of season potentially being a guy that's getting some serious snaps. I haven't been drafting him anywhere, but definitely a guy that I've been monitoring and seeing what happens there.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking deeper than that, it's a good question. Let me just scroll down my list here. I've been taking some Ed Small, TCU guy. Heard some good things out of camp about him. Probably not going to be really a guy this year, but maybe the year after, because I figure some of those guys will probably leave that room. I took him in a deeper league a few weeks ago. I think he's kind of like the deepest guy that I've been kind of semi-regularly eyeballing.
I'm not involved in a ton of C2C freshman drafts because I only play in one C2C league and everything. What about Terry Shelton at TCU? You mentioned Ed Small, but he's another guy that I thought was kind of interesting coming into this year. Again, because there's not a very deep wide receiver room at TCU right now. Another reason why I like Eric McAllister. How do you think about him?
I like Shelton. I had Shelton graded higher. It just seemed like they had better things to say about good old Eddie. And I didn't have them like so far apart that I mind flip-flopping them essentially.
Gotcha.
So I actually haven't really been tempted by Shelton at all this offseason. Maybe I should be. I've been a little burned on some of these big athletic guys at TCU recently. So maybe that's been in my mind as well. But I do like Terry Shelton. I think he's a good player.
Gotcha. All right. Ernest Barton asks, Gio Lopez or Dylan Raiola in the Tadpole Bowl? That's a bit of a tough one. Here's the thing. A lot of people are kind of avoiding North Carolina because they think it's going to be a crap show this year with, again, the drama around Bill Belichick. I'm actually not as worried about it before. I've discussed this on CTN a couple of times where them keeping Freddie Kitchens, I think, was a huge piece of continuity for that program. And I think if Belichick is distracted for whatever reason, I think Kitchens is kind of running the show there and kind of keeping things on track. I could absolutely see them using Gio Lopez in some pretty fun ways. I think they'll be competitive enough in most games where you're going to see him do pretty well. So I'd honestly take the shot on Gio Lopez and his dual threat ability, although I do kind of like Dylan Raiola with his talent, and now with Dana Holgerson calling plays there, hopefully he cannot have the terrible touchdown luck he had to finish the season there. Austin, you have any strong opinions on that, Lopez or Raiola in the Tadpole Bowl?
I think there's a better chance that Lopez isn't starting at the end of the year.
Are you that big of a fan of Bryce Baker?
I have taken Bryce Baker in all but I believe one supplemental draft I've done this offseason. I think I've done 8 or 9 of them at this point. I think it's a sooner rather than later that we see him. I don't think UNC is going to be that good this year. If they're 9-2, obviously they're not going to make the change, but it would not shock me based on all the stuff they've said about him this offseason that Baker gets some looks by the end of the season for sure.
All right, I'm gonna take a quarterback here just to kind of beat, because God knows what's gonna make it back to me here. So I kind of got to reach on that position here. I don't feel like I need to reach at this position quite yet, so I'll just continue to stock up on some running backs. I'll take a guy that I'm starting to become a bit more aggressive on, and you guys will hear about this why on tomorrow's CTN. But I'm really kind of falling in love with the Cameron Cook hype over at Jacksonville State. What I think people kind of forget with Cam Cook at Jacksonville State is that they hired Clint Trickett as their offensive coordinator. And for those that don't remember who that is the offensive coordinator that is responsible for the likes of Kalen LeBourne at Marshall in 2022 and the Rasheen Ali the year afterwards in 2023. Granted, 2 really good running backs, but they're not afraid to have a workhorse back. And boy, do they seem to love Cam Cook down there and what little information that we've been getting out of there. So I'll take the upside shot here. Austin, you've got 2 running backs who took off the board there, and Telly Johnson and LJ Martin. What do you think about those guys?
I don't love either of them, for the record. Telly Johnson's efficiency last year, even though the counting stats were pretty good, was slightly concerning to me in terms of potentially holding on to a job. But, he got some real nice volume when he was in there. So sure, why not? And the same for LJ Martin. I just think Martin took him in the Tadpole Bowl as well, actually, just because, and like this similar range, which felt better when it was P4 only. Because lose their quarterback, at this point in the offseason, I have to figure that the game plan shifts a little more run heavy. Can he stay healthy for a whole year and blah, 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 that kind of stuff? Do teams even respect the pass in the first place? All questions that need to be answered. But I think the volume, assuming he's healthy, is going to be pretty nice for him. So.
No, I definitely agree. LJ Martin's not a guy that I've drafted a ton of this offseason, and I've kind of been off of him really the last couple of years. Like,
Same.
Even last year, like I wasn't a huge fan of him, but I agree with you that with Retzlaff gone, they're going to lean into the things that make that offense. And I think it's also a stock up for Chase Roberts, who's actually dropped quite a bit in drafts recently. You get McKay Hillstead back there, a guy that I don't think is nearly as good of a quarterback, and you could see him just target the hell out of Chase Roberts this year. So I think that offense does get simplified, and that does involve hand the ball off to LJ as long as he can stay healthy. I'm kind of more okay with LJ Martin as a pick now than I've ever been before. I have to admit, Austin, I'm really not a big fan of Telly Johnson. He's really somebody I should have brought up on CTN tomorrow as a guy I think is just going too high in drafts.
Yeah.
We don't get a lot of information out of NIU. What little information that there is just tells me this is a committee between Johnson, Jalen Poe, and then the FCS transfer they brought in, Siobhan Wright. Maybe one of those guys breaks away from the pack, but at least to start the season, it really does sound like it's going to be a three-headed monster between those three guys.
Oh, listen here, Jared. First off, you told me if I was coming on this show that you would talk really nice about all my picks and make me feel real good about myself. And we're 20 minutes in, you've already broken the rule. So
hey, you're lucky that I made it 20 minutes, Austin. you know me. I'm the resident hater around Campus2Canton.
It's surprising they let us both on a show at the same time, then, since that is also a reputation.
Dude, no, it's actually so funny because like I was on the 52 teamer stream yesterday, and like I'm on there with John McKechnie. John McKechnie's like the nicest dude on the planet, and so like him being next to me, he makes me look like a hater because like every time like I even have this like if I'm slightly critical of a player, John comes in with like the most like I don't even know how to describe it, but like he is like the most optimistic take for every player ever, and I'm just sitting there being like, oh man, I look like a jerk over here now. You look like you're angry there, Austin. Who'd you want there?
Aaron Anderson. I was kind of hoping he's the guy I've just been banking on leading that LSU room this year. It makes too much sense to me for it to be somebody else.
He feels like the safest option for sure. I definitely think the ceiling still lies with a guy like Chris Hilton, who by the way got invited to SEC Media Days, oh, by the way, Austin, you're on the clock, by the way. I don't know if you saw.
Oh, no, I missed that. My bad.
You're good. 10 seconds. No pressure.
Cool. I had some guys in the queue. We were good.
All right, cool. All right, I'm going to see who can I take here. I might double dip at wide receiver here. Yeah, I think I will. I'm pretty loaded up with running backs. I feel pretty comfortable there. Ooh, I could take him though.
I was hoping Seneca would make it back to me. Guess I should have just taken him.
All right, I'll take Dane Key out of Nebraska. Hopefully get that Dana Holgerson wide receiver 1, and then do I continue to stack up on some running backs? Yes, we will. I'll take Kyson Brown out of Arizona State. Again, just trying to find some guys that can follow up some legends there. Clay Mountcastle asked in the chat, fewer passes thrown this year, Haas Haney or Blake Horvath? I'm going to say Haas Haney because he's probably not going to start, unfortunately. As much as we all were kind of intrigued with the idea of Haas Haney getting that starting job for Oklahoma State, considering that if he ever does start, he's probably a 25 point per game kind of weak guy just because of his skill set. But it really does sound like Zane Flores, as of currently right now, has the starting job for that system. I have no idea if that's going to be valuable or not for CFF because I have no idea if Oklahoma State's going to be any good this year. So, again, a lot of question marks they've got to fill over there. But if you believe in that system, I think Zane Flores is a nice shot at the end of drafts there. But yeah, Haas Haney, I will say, to answer your question, Clay, will finish with less passes thrown this year. What about you, Austin? I guess how do you view the Oklahoma State quarterback situation?
Yeah, I was a little surprised. I really did think them going out and getting Haney with so much meh in their quarterback room. Haney was a guy that we really liked and was really productive in high school, hits a lot of our athletic measurables, all that kind of jazz. I thought it was kind of a signal that that's the direction they were definitely going. So I was caught a little off guard after spring when it sounded like he wasn't going to be the guy there. Still wouldn't shock me. They've started multiple quarterbacks multiple times recently. So
yeah, true.
Would it shock me if we see him and he just he's got to take advantage of whatever opportunity he gets. But I mean, I don't think that's an unfair take from you at all. That maybe we just don't really see much of him this offseason. But I think he's the most talented guy there. That doesn't always matter, but especially for Gundy.
No, for sure. Like the upside's 100% there. It's just a matter of we're not there at practices, so we're not even entirely sure what Gundy values in his quarterbacks. I mean, he went out and got Alan Bowman out of the transfer portal and said, "This is my guy for 2 years."
Yeah, that never made sense that he went to Michigan in the first place. Alan Bowman has the weirdest career ever. Alan Bowman is the first player I ever drafted in a C2C startup many moons ago. It was an auction, so it wasn't like he was like my first round pick. But yeah, he had such a weird career.
What kind of psychopath league did you play in where Alan Bowman was one of the first players brought up for auction?
It was right after his decent freshman year there at Texas Tech, and everyone was kind of like,
gotcha.
That could be a guy, and he went for pretty cheap. He was a name that I was familiar with, so I went with it. But wait, did I just? Is it? Oh, okay. Sadiq did go already. I was gonna say, holy crap! Did Gillenborg just go as the first tight end off the board?
That's whoa, Justin, whoa, buddy,
that's wild,
bro. You don't have to do that to the rest of us.
It's so funny because at my last pick, I was gonna just ask, like, when did the tight end start going up the board here? I think we found the range.
Yeah, Sadiq going off at 8 is actually the latest I've seen him come off the board. I am now the resident Sadiq hater of the CFF world, even though I have him at tight end 4. I've just been really irked at how early Sadiq goes compared to the rest of the tight ends, especially since he is a projection play at the end of the day. And so I'm glad to see him kind of fall back here, even though he was taken, almost 20 picks ahead of Gillenborg, who is tight end 2 there. I'm glad to see him at least back in this range back here, because I've seen him go off as high as like the 5th, 6th round sometimes, and I'm just like, I get where people are coming from in terms of like, oh, the upside's there. Yes, but is that upside really worth like that many picks ahead of all these other tight ends who are more established? Like we know, like I'm fairly certain Stowers, Gillenborg, Jolie, all these other guys, they're going to get 500 yards and 5 touchdowns this year, right? Yeah. Sadiq probably gets there as well, but does he get to the 800 yards that some people are kind of projecting him for? I don't think so. Let's see what's coming down the stretch here. Let me double check the chat for any more questions. Yes, Kevin Parker says, haven't heard a ton of talk on South Florida, but have seen some Singleton hype recently. Thoughts on that offense this year? I think Byron Brown's going to find himself in a comfortable in-between of what he started off with last year and then his elite season the year before that. So I've got him, I think, a quarterback like 33 off the top of my head. I'd have to double check. Byron, 35. A QB 35. I think he'll fit.
He just went off the board. So.
Oh, well, look at it. It's just that kind of draft. And then Singleton, I do think is your best bet. Like, I wanted to kind of chase the slot this year, which is where I think Chaz Nimrod's going to end up playing. I think that's a pretty solid, bet to do on. But Singleton definitely has the hype. They seem to love him there. With Alex Golish, we've seen that outside wide receiver in Cedric Tillman under his offense perform super well. So I think that's a perfectly fine pick. Flores! Got me on the Royer pick there. I was really hoping I could get Royer, and I was potentially going to stack him there with his quarterback there, but I think I'm just going to take a guy that I haven't taken a ton of shares of recently, but I used to draft all the time. I'll take another share of Bryson Barnes at Utah State. I just love that marriage between him and Rocco Mendenhall so much. Yep. Flores says his goal coming into the draft was to snipe me, and boy did he on that one. I'll take Jolie. Jolie's a fine consolation prize though at tight end. He
had the Jared scouting report. He knew what was coming next.
I've drafted Royer enough times that again, Royer in a full PPR league though would have been just so good. Well, Tommy, there you go. There's Le'Veon Moss off at the 11th round, somehow going earlier than when he got arrested. So that's fun.
I'm still not convinced he's healthy, like this season enough to be, because his rushing style is so physical.
Oh yeah. I'm not entirely sure how to read it either, because again, Reuben Owens was healthy the whole time. I really think it's a split backfield between those two, at the very least. Now Moss was getting a ton of run down the stretch, but also wasn't Owens or injured for a good chunk of last year as well? Like that was part of the deal.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, and then Amari Daniels is still there. I'm shocked that he didn't transfer out after the year. He is still there, right? Am I crazy on that?
Does he still have eligibility?
Could have sworn he's still there. Let me go look at our handy dandy CFB winning edge team profiles.
Although of course it's not loading for me.
I know, right? That's how this goes. You want to look something up, and of course that's the time that the internet decides to quit out on you. Who'd you take here? You took Austin Simmons. You mentioned before you're pretty stoked about that Ole Miss offense chucking the ball around, so that's kind of confirming what you're looking at there.
I was a little surprised he was still there. I like him a little more than some of the guys that have already gone. Jennings, for instance. Figured I'd take him there. Yeah, I think he's going to have a nice season. And from like the C2C ranking, seems like he was kind of one of the next guys up here. So
cool. Let's see. We got a question from the chat from Jay Remy says, love Jacoby Lane. Feels like he's a sure thing for 1,000 yards and has multi-TD potential every game to win weeks. Am I too optimistic on his projection? Feels like he has a nice target at his ADP. So I have Lane ranked as my wide receiver 34, so I'm not like down on him or anything like that. I do think that his projection tells me that he is not quite as valuable as some people want him to be. I think his touchdown regression is going to come for him because dude just got force-fed in the end zone towards the end of last year with Jaden Maiava at quarterback. Granted, he could absolutely have that role again, and that could lead him to having a higher touchdown rate than most people again this year. But I tend not to try to rely on that for CFF purposes. And so I'm projecting him for around 7 touchdowns on the year to kind of regress pretty big time, I would say, and finish with around 766 yards. I got him projected for about 85 targets, which is quite a bit for a Lincoln Riley wide receiver, by the way. His wide receivers haven't really been huge target monsters the last couple of years. And he only averages about 12.4 yards per catch over the last 2 years that he's been at USC. And so I think that's a little bit lower than what people think, especially for an outside wide receiver. That's kind of a pretty low efficiency there. So that brings him down quite a bit there. So again, I'm projecting about 766 yards, 7 touchdowns. Austin, J. Remy thinks 1,000 yards. I'm thinking about 766 for Lane. What are you thinking for him?
I lean probably a little closer to you. I think the big thing for him in like a full PPR type format is I just don't know how many actual targets he's going to get because they do rely on him in kind of, specific situations, as you mentioned, big red zone kind of target, big. It's funny because I think he has the skill set to be used deep, but that's just like not really how they use him. But like I think it's not a high volume role, at least hasn't been. A little skeptical on Maiava as well. I'm actually not terribly high on Lemon this year either from a pure fantasy perspective, just because I think they might run the ball quite a bit. I know it's not necessarily Lincoln Riley's MO per se, but I do think they might lean that way a little bit, kind of hide Maiava a tiny bit. But in C2C formats, I like Lane a lot. I think I've got him borderline top 30, like in my C2C rankings, because I think there's certainly some NFL potential, but obviously not what we care about today. So.
No, for sure. This is, by the way, a really good time for me to remind all of you guys we're about a third of the way through the draft. If you have not liked this video already, I would appreciate if you went ahead and did that. It helps us get in front of the eyeballs of everybody who might be interested in this kind of thing. YouTube loves to see likes go up as the stream goes along. So if you've not done that, yep, I see the like counter going up already. You guys are awesome. Really appreciate you guys. And once again, if you're not subscribed already, please go ahead and do so. And if you've done both those things already, reach out to some of your buddies and invite them onto the stream so they can like the stream, so they can subscribe and all that good jazz. And let's just have a good time tonight. You guys are awesome. Really appreciate the questions tonight. You guys are doing a great job with all the comments and everything. keep them coming. Again, we're caught up right now. Unless I missed a question before. If I missed a question before, go ahead and re-put it in the chat so that I can look out for it. Oh, you guys are so awesome. I love seeing all the likes come in. You guys are awesome. Austin Wood says, just like only for you, Jared. Thanks, Austin. I appreciate that. All right. Speaking of Austin, you just took a Daniel Highshaw there from Kansas. What are you thinking there?
I mean, I think he's the next guy up there. It sounds like he's lost a little bit of weight to try to get into a little better shape to be able to handle more of a bell cow workload this year. It is Kansas's schedule doesn't set up amazingly. Not that the Big 12 has a bunch of tough schedules, but I do worry a little bit about game script to a certain extent in some of these games that they're going to be in. I also understand that they kind of just run their offense no matter what to a certain extent. So, which makes me feel a little bit better about his floor. Obviously, the injury is a little bit of a concern because he's had, a few throughout his career. But running backs that I like, there's very few left. I've got a couple of wide receivers that I really, really like still on the board, and actually one that I'm going to reach on here in a second, but I really like this year, and we can talk about why. So
I'm excited to see it.
Back to me.
I'm excited to see it. What do you got? Oh, definitely a reach in terms of ADP, but I let me see if I can find him in my rankings. So I do have him in my rankings.
I get it. It's definitely a little bit of a reach. But
128 is where I got him at.
Yeah, I really, really like Lewis Bond this year. He had almost 100 targets last year. I think this offense is going to be much more consistent without Castellanos in there from a passing perspective. I think they're going to throw the ball around a decent amount, even though it's not like some high pace, high powered passing attack. I've been drafting Bond late in supplementals all year, and I figure, I'll take him here. Why not? Screw it. Good talking point for us.
No, definitely a good talking point. But here's my question for you, Austin. Dylan Lonergan sounds great, right? Connection with Bill O'Brien and everything. Yeah. What about the possibility that Grayson James wins that starting job?
With James last year, he was still productive. Like, I feel like the like a 90 target floor is still there with James, and I feel like Lonergan lifts him, a little bit above that. Because I do think that there's a chance that James starts, which surprised me again. Another one of those after spring that surprised me a little bit because, like you said, the connection there with Bill O'Brien and Lonergan as a recruit and all that. But yeah, I really, really, really like Bond this year. Actually, I think he's kind of he is probably one of my favorite lower ranked sleeper wide receivers this year.
I definitely like him in a PPR setting, right? Because again,
which is what this is.
Like you're looking at like 58 to 59 receptions in my projections and everything. That's a pretty solid floor for him right there. Again, as a wide receiver one on his team. I would agree with you. Again, veteran guy on his team. Like, I'm not going to clown you too much there. Again, my projections don't love him as much, but also, like, in my projections, it's so easy for a guy to drop, like, 40 spots if there's even just the slightest tweak to his efficiency or my projected targets on him or anything, because a lot of these wide receivers are actually very close to each other in that range, and so, yeah, like, is it technically a reach? Sure. But if you like him, this is kind of where we're getting to the spot where this is kind of the spot we're getting to where, don't be afraid to go after a guy. Yeah. TJ Sunstein says, this chalk guy has the right idea and strategy for drafting, but I don't agree with the players. Sorry for calling them out. TJ, I would actually be interested if you elaborated on that a little bit. Tell me, what strategy do you see Chalk doing, and what is it that you don't like about his players? You're not calling them out. This is a great place to discuss these kind of things. So if you've got a thought on that, TJ, I'd be happy to hear it. And we can discuss it live on air here. Justin Nottingham, hate you, man. You took Caldwell from me there. I was kind of hoping you'd fly under the radar just a little bit more. Austin, a super random question here. Mm-hmm. What do you how many picks ahead of your pick do you need something to be for you to consider it a snipe? Because I feel like I was about to say he sniped me on Caldwell there, but it's like 12 picks ahead of my pick. Right, so can I really call that a snipe?
Well, it's tough because you're on the turn.
Exactly.
It's like the whole other side of the turn. Like, if you really wanted them, you should have taken them. So I mean, same round, especially at this point in the draft. I feel like that's probably relative. Like, at the beginning of the draft, it's got to be like 3 picks or less. But I feel like this late, like a round, it might qualify. We'll have to consult the rule book.
Elliot and Case coming in quick in the chat with Elliot says 2, Case says 3, Robert Flores says 2. So they're big on, like, in order to complain about a snipe, it has to be 2 to 3 picks ahead of your pick.
It's fair.
Probably fair. I would say probably fair. I will say though, I feel like late round snipes are always more painful than like early round snipes, because like early round you kind of get it a little bit more because ADP says to take players and stuff like that. But like when you get to the end and you're just hoping a guy gets back to you, and you're thinking everybody's just taking their own guys, and then all of a sudden like 2 to 3 picks ahead of you, the guy that you were looking at for the last 24 picks is about to reach you, and somebody takes him off the board. I don't know. That just feels a bit more painful.
I hate everything that's in this range right now, by the way. So I don't really feel that great about this pick, but I'll just bank on Castellanos having some spike weeks with good old Gussie.
I might have a redemption arc here. Oh, Austin, you took Ian Strong for me. That one hurt. That was going to be my other pick, but I might have a redemption arc here. Austin, are you ready for this?
I am.
Are you ready for this? Let's see. Is Robert going to deny me my redemption arc here?
Got the playbook.
I don't even know if I really like this pick or not, but I'm going for the redemption arc here.
Oh, I know what you're doing. I know what you're about to do.
Yes.
Yeah, you let it happen.
Give me Sluka, baby. I don't hate him.
I knew it. As soon
14th round for Sluka. Like at that point, I'm shooting for the top 10 quarterback upside. He's my 4th quarterback. I'll take it. I'll take a wide receiver here as well. Actually, let me double check running back, see if there's anybody out. Ooh, I do like him. But I haven't got enough shares of this guy wide receiver. Give me Landon Sides out of North Texas, who I think is your actual wide receiver 1 for North Texas this year, by the way. But yes, got the Sluka redemption. I don't hate him, everybody.
I'm happy for you.
Thank you. It is a personal achievement of mine to finally get a share of Sluka, and again, especially at a nice value, because he used to go like round 9. 8 through like 10. I felt like that was just way too early for him. But yeah, down here in the 14th round, like, what's the difference between him and Castellanos, right? In terms of their upside, in terms of like the risk of them making it through the entire season, the risk of them not being good quarterbacks, the risk of their teams not scoring that much. Like, I don't think there's a huge difference. Eric Froton would tell us we're both idiots for drafting a quarterback of that prototype in this range. Austin, you look locked in, man. What do you?
I don't know what I'm doing here, actually. I don't really like anything that's going on here. I'm gonna go Eric Rivers. I think he's the wide receiver 1 there at Georgia Tech. We've seen some guys have some success there. At the same time, I don't feel that great about that. Ugh.
Yeah, I think I need
you can crap on it. Please crap.
No, again, here's the thing. I like Eric Rivers as a player, and I think that was a really good pickup for Georgia Tech. I just don't know if he's going to be their wide receiver 1 this year. I don't know if there's really even a true wide receiver 1 for Georgia Tech this year. Buster Faulkner comes from the Todd Monken tree, and that means they spread it out, right? Even Eric Singleton was getting decent target share last year, but he wasn't getting anything elite that you would want in CFF purposes. So I kind of avoided him a lot last year in CFF, but I think if I'm going to have to pick a wide receiver for Georgia Tech this year, I'll go Malik Rutherford. Again, just a veteran guy in that program. They brought him to ACC Media Days. Him and Haynes King have been playing together for like 3 years now, so I think I'll lean towards him. But Eric Rivers is definitely the upside play at that point.
The guys that are like at the top, according to all the different stuff on here and just what I'm trying to click through, like there's 2 San Jose State guys, like whatever. I'm not going to reach on one of those first. I'll let one of them go off the board. There's some real iffy wide receivers. The wide receiver that I think is wide receiver 1 for Texas is still on the board, but I also have injuries. And so from a best ball perspective, I'm a little hesitant to have both of those players, especially because I'm not sure exactly how super duper pass heavy they are this year anyway. I mean, I don't trust some of these like Nolan Ray type running backs that are still on the board that are technically the leading back, but like whatever. It's just that this is a rough spot as someone who hasn't done any, bigger best balls here this offseason, CFF wise.
No, again, it definitely feels a little tricky here in this range because, again, as you can see right now, we're already seeing guys like Udo, Watson at running back coming off the board, and this is people taking shots on us just being wrong about which running back is going to lead at certain spots.
So if we're in that range, then I have 2 guys that I put in my queue at the very beginning of this, but because there are players that I really, really like, and so I actually might just double tap them on the way back down if they're both here.
Yeah, why not? I mean, that's kind of the way to do it, especially if you're close to the turn. Like, just take both of them. TJ Sunstein, by the way, elaborating on his comment earlier, he said, with regards to Chalk Exchange and his team, love the middle round wide receiver flyers for targets, top running backs early, the quarterbacks are funnish. He just specifically doesn't like, I think he took, Ahmad Hardy there. Ahmad Hardy in the third at 3.6, I think is fine, especially as a third running back. I've seen Hardy go off as like a round 2 running back a lot of times. I really don't like that at all. Is that the Oklahoma? Is that the backfield?
Fields was one of them. Yeah.
Was that the backfield you're going to double tap on?
No, I wasn't going to double tap the same backfield. It was 2 different backfields. I just had these 2 guys that I was like, I don't want to forget about them. I'm going to put them in my queue early, and I'll sit here and wait. So
gotcha. Yeah. See, I got 5. What's your build at right now, Austin? Because I got 4 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 5 wide receivers, 1 tight end. I'm definitely going to wait on quarterback from here on out. I usually take 6, and I'll just take probably 2 upside shots later on in the draft.
I've got 4, 4, 6, 5, and with my quarterbacks right now, they've got pretty nicely spaced out bye weeks. I took Alejado and Matir early. I'm not taking another one for a while. So
yeah. I'm gonna see what falls to me. I mean, the skill positions are really where I'm gonna be focusing most of my stuff from here on out. Let's see some more questions in the chat here. Kay says, thoughts on John Anthony Hall out of Stanford for C2C. What are your thoughts there, Austin? You are that's definitely more your realm than mine.
Yeah, I mean, I think we think he's really talented. I just don't know what's throwing him the ball, and that's like really the concern there.
What is throwing him the ball?
Who, however we want to say. I mean, I just don't know what the quality of quarterback play is going to be there, but I do think that he's crazy talented. And I actually probably should have been taking him in some drafts this year where I haven't. But all right, we're doing
Again, there's not much really left there at Stanford. I mean, I kind of like CJ Williams to have, finally kind of put it together. There's not really many other options for them to throw to over there. Who's their new head coach? Ron Rivera?
Is he their coach? Yeah, he is. No, is he their coach or is he their GM or whatever? No, he's UCLA. Ron Rivera is UCLA.
Hold on, Stanford head coach.
Cal is Ron Rivera.
Frank Reich. I don't know why. Yeah, Frank Reich is the head coach at Stanford now. Like, you might know him a little bit better than I do, Austin. How do you feel about that hire?
It's fine. I don't know. I'm a little skeptical on some of these guys that are kind of career NFLers going down to college because I don't know that they're always that well adapted to the college game, unfortunately. I mean, they certainly could have done worse. They're in a bad spot right now. They kind of just needed somebody there. So, it's not. He's not gonna drive the team into the ground, if that makes sense.
All right, I just double tap wide receiver there. I actually didn't really want to. I kind of wanted to hit running back a little bit, but I think I should be able to get some guys back here potentially. But Scudero going this late, that's the latest I've seen him go in a really long time. So I felt like I had to grab him there. And then we discussed Singleton a little bit earlier from whose question was that? That was Kevin Parker's question. We discussed Singleton there. I felt like I needed to draft him there because I haven't gotten a ton of shares of him either. And I think, again, probably your leading wide receiver for that offense. So why not? All right, you took Ja'Cory Barney out of Nebraska. You, Moxley, and Felix are really, really in on Barney. I obviously took Key earlier, so I'm really in on him this year. What is it that you guys like about Barney so much?
It's less. I mean, we do like Barney. We just think he's a really talented player. I think at least I am projecting a higher pass volume for this offense with a quarterback, who's a little more experienced with Raiola now this year. And I don't know that Dane Key is any better than Barney. Had his first year in the system, so it's not like the experience factor really plays that far in for him. And I just think, I think it's probably closer to a 50-50 chance as to who is the wide receiver 1 there in a Holgerson offense. So for a 9-round discount that I got here, that feels okay to me. I wouldn't have taken Barney, up near Key. But this much separation between the two feels solid to me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you believe in the talent, for sure, I totally understand it. feel like we have it on pretty good authority that it is going to be key. Austin, I can tell you what that authority is after the show if you want, because I don't want to say it here. But I'll tell you where we got that information from. But even still, like if you believe in Barney and you think that again he'll basically force the ball to come his way down the stretch just by being a better wide receiver, I don't blame you for taking the shot. Again, we're round 15 plus is really you're kind of getting to a quickly getting to a point of if you love a guy, grab him. I'm a big fan of playing the ADP game for CFF, and I built a whole tool around it over at Campus2Canton.com with our draft predictor tool, where again you can plug in guys and see who's more likely to make it back to you. I am very guilty of trying to play that game a lot, but again, round 15, like it quickly becomes the Wild West. This is where people are just grabbing their guys. If you don't feel comfortable waiting on a guy, you might as well just grab him, and there's probably just as much of a chance the other guy you're considering is going to make it back to you. Just grab the guy you love more. So, speaking of, I'm going to continue loading up my queue here. I've been spared so far of the sniping, but Justin's taking a long time on his pick now, so that tells me that he's about to break my heart. And then Austin Wood, I see your question about Eli Heidenreich. I'm trying to pull up some of his stats from last year. For some reason, I'm having a hard time finding. There we go. Yeah, he was running back 49 last year in CFF. I'm trying to see where his points per game ended up. Let's see. Yeah, points per game. Yeah, finishes 15.3. Finishes running back 43 in points per game. And then let me look up his Eli Heidenreich. I just spelled his name wrong. No, PFF's just being a butt. I hate it when it does this, when you type in a name and it's just like, no players found. I'm like, I know I spelled this correctly. But yeah, somebody mentioned in the chat, and I do think that is correct, that you're looking at a guy that definitely is looking at some touchdown regression. Really, just that entire Navy offense, I think, is looking at some regression this year. It's a big reason why I'm not as big of a fan of Horvath this year compared to a lot of people. I think that there's a lot of room for those touchdowns to be split up just a little bit more. Here we go. Finally got it. Yeah, Heidenreich. Oh no, he got 3 touchdowns on the ground. Let me see his receiving though. I think receiving is where. Yeah, 6 touchdowns, about 67 or 671 yards. Okay, I don't think there's that much touchdown regression kind of coming there. Now, yeah, again, Heidenreich's a fine pick, I would say. I probably need to actually put him in my rankings. I'm always scared to rank or to actually project out and rank these triple option receiving / running back guys.
Shouldn't be as difficult as it is to nail them down, but it is.
I mean, people still give me crap for, telling people don't draft triple option or Service Academy quarterbacks last year. And then, of course, Horvath and Daly go on to have the best quarterback season since, Malcolm Perry at Navy a couple years ago. So, all right. Who took my running back? I had a running back that was... Oh, no. No, I'm good, actually. I'm good. There's no sweat here. I'm good. Nobody took my guy. I'm happy. Dawson Dunn says, feels like there's seriously lacking a large amount of surefire running backs this year. How are you guys strategizing around the talent drought with running backs this year? I mean, Austin, you can definitely speak to the talent drought while I pick my next 2 guys here. I'll take Herschel Turner out of Nevada and Elijah Green, 2 of my favorite later round running backs, especially at the G5 level, walking into some workhorse situations right there. So Dawson, those are 2 guys right there. If you're looking at late round guys, I would go after them. But in terms of navigating this running back drought, I mean, yeah, it's nuts. I've mentioned this before on the show, but Austin, of the top 24 running backs in CFF last year, how many return to the same team this year?
Oh man, I bet it's like 1 or 2. I bet it's not many at all.
It's 3.
Yeah.
It's 3, and we had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 17 out of the 24 left for the NFL. Like, it was a huge talent drain for the top running backs from last year, which was somewhat to be expected, right? We got in 2024, we had a ton of elite options from 2023 surprisingly return for one last year. And so that kind of spoiled us at the running back position. And it only made sense that all those guys were going to leave the very next year. And I think, we didn't really get lucky with any of them. I think the only one that returned that kind of surprised us was maybe Anthony Hankerson and Devon Claiborne. Other than that, like, everybody that could have gone did go. And so how do we navigate that? I think, again, you have to hit running back early in the drafts. I'll bring the draft back up here real quick. Like, I took 2 running backs out of the first 2 picks there. I usually try to get 3 out of my first 4 picks are running backs. And then Austin, I think you did something similar where you had 2 running, or no, you took 1 running back and then you grabbed Johnson and Martin later on. How do you feel about that?
I was trying to get, and they kind of went off the board a few picks before I was anticipating. Yeah,
Gotcha.
Chip, I thought might make it back around to me, as did Parker, and then neither of them did. So yeah, got it.
Yeah, and Elliot agrees with Todd about Eli Heidenreich, saying that he's going too low considering his role. Yeah, probably fair. All right, let's see. We're about 20 rounds in. Austin, how are you feeling about your team so far?
I don't know, Jared. No, there were a couple picks that I think, didn't quite go the way I had hoped, but a lot of the offenses that I wanted to invest in early, I was able to. Mm-hmm. And then some of the kind of wide receiver 2, could they be wide receiver 1 guys are still on the board that I like quite a bit. And so that'll be probably my next couple rounds here is digging into those particular offenses and taking those guys. So, I'll probably finish in last, but we're having fun doing it out here.
You can't finish in last, Austin. You gotta beat last place. Otherwise, you would be tied with Colin, assumingly.
Yeah. And I can't have that.
Colin's going to listen to this tomorrow, and he's going to come into the chat and be like, "Yo, what the heck? 100%. Why am I catching?" Actually, he shouldn't be surprised at all of that if you're on the show that he's catching strays. What am I even saying here?
He'll be like, "I came in 9th. I'll have you know," or something. I'm sure is what the answer I'll get.
I'd be curious to go. One, I can't bring myself to go back and watch that because the graphics on that were probably so horrible. Not only just like with my show and everything, but that was like the old Fantrax like look.
Oh yeah, it was totally different.
Completely
it's so
different.
Funny. It's so easy to forget how much different it looked a few years ago.
I know we give Fantrax a lot of crap in terms of like not getting some things right, and like especially the player pool issues this year and everything. But man, they really have like stepped it up in terms of just the overall presentation of the website and everything. Like it looks way more legit now than it did like even 3 or 4 years ago.
100% agree. Yeah, you won't hear me crapping on them too much. And I really don't. I think people always talk about how difficult it is to use or whatever, but I think if you use it for a season, it's no weirder than most.
My hot take. So people talk about like the usability of Sleeper and stuff like that. I don't get it. I really don't think Sleeper is that user friendly. I think Fantrax is like once you kind of understand and navigate Fantrax a little bit more, it's way better of a setup in my opinion.
Don't get me started on Sleeper.
All right, I'm gonna keep going with my running back stuff here because I had a pretty big gap between round 9 and round 18.
I was gonna say, he went round 8 or 9. I was surprised how early the other running back there went from ULM.
And so
I'm a bad way.
I'm gonna take the freshman Deshaun Ford here, just taking a 50-50 shot. And then do I want to take another shot at running back here? Or do I want to wait? Nah, screw it. I'll take another shot. I'll grab Sutton Smith. I've been big on Greg DeRosier and everything, but I didn't give Sutton Smith enough credit early in the offseason. I'm giving him a bit more credit now. DeRosier, where did he go off in this draft? See if I can find him real quick before it snaps back. 4-1. I'll take Sutton Smith at 20th round. 17 rounds later, he may not be healthy. I'm still kind of concerned about that, but. The talk is that, if there's going to be somebody who can probably fill that workhorse role, Smith might have the best chance just given his skill set and size. So, sounds like this. Go ahead.
As I say, Colin and I previewed the AAC a couple weeks ago, and we talked about that. I think using the royal we, as in everybody, is probably a little too comfortable projecting DeRosier, and a little, maybe Sutton Smith should be, they should be closer together. So I do not disagree with you there.
If DeRosier does get that workhorse role, though, like his ceiling is so high. Like he's been so efficient. Like when he does get the ball the last couple of years, I would love to see what he would look like with a full workload. I just don't know if he'll actually get that.
Yeah.
So, Austin, you took Derek McFall there out of SMU. We were actually discussing him earlier in the CFF Slack. Was that inspired by that discussion, or what are you thinking?
Harden just went. I actually thought Harden would go significantly earlier, and I actually, for the record, did take Harden in the Tadpole Bowl, because I think he's a good player and because I think he's probably the best actual running back on that team. But I was kind of waiting. I haven't taken any from McFall this offseason, and so I figured, once Harden goes off the board, why not give it a shot, considering my running back room is not particularly strong, and hope that I have a quote-unquote the guy there, maybe not. But.
I mean, what's fun about taking a guy like that, right, is that he can be a boost to either your wide receiver room or your running back room, right? Even if he's not the main running back, he might get enough run that he's still a decent value at wide receiver. So, because it doesn't take much for a running back with wide receiver eligibility to end up finishing in the top end of wide receivers. I mean, Brashard Smith last year was, where are you, Mr. Smith? He finished as running back 13, but he was wide receiver. Let me get back up there. He was wide receiver 3. Right. And even I'm looking at my projections now with Adam Randall, right? I have Adam Randall projected as my, let me find it real quick, running back 51. But if you kind of take his ranking score here of 168 and then put it among the wide receivers for me, he is looking at wide receiver 15. It really doesn't take much for a running back with wide receiver eligibility to be a value at wide receiver. So I don't blame people for taking shots. That's why I take shots at Julian Gray all the time in these leagues. So you mentioned your Tadpole Bowl draft, by the way, Austin. How's that going for you so far?
I'm actually really happy with how that's going. And I think that's because I've been listening to a lot of the P4 only type best ball stuff. And obviously it's not a best ball league, but I felt much more prepared for that than I have for this, for instance. I'm really happy with that. I mean, without going pick by pick, I mean, I started off, I think executed the strategy most people were saying, a couple quarterbacks, couple running backs early, since those rooms then kind of fall off a little bit. And I've been just taking some speculative kick return wide receivers late, Berrien Brown, Townsend, some of those guys. So yeah, I'm happy with it, I think.
You're on the clock, by the way. I don't know if you saw.
Yeah. Let's get weird. No, I'm just kidding. How about this? We talked about this earlier.
We did. You're taking the shot on the young guy.
Go Voorhees. Why not?
Go Voorhees. You've picked your lane now, Austin. Stick with it. Now, all right. Let's see what I can get here. I'm probably gonna go tight end. I'm gonna draft another guy that I probably have just taken way too much this offseason. But you know what? Screw it. I'm fine with it. It's all good. And then I'll finally give you permission to draft from one of these wide receiver rooms as well, Austin. I'll take Seydou Traore here out of Mississippi State. Decent shot that he's once again a top 2 receiving option for that team. And then wide receiver, I definitely need to start taking some guys here, but I'll take Malik Phillips out of Sam Houston. And as you said earlier, Austin, I know you're kind of looking at that room, so I have to imagine you'll be taking a look at Quavez Humphreys here on this round.
Phillips was in the queue. Was not going to be my next pick, but was sitting there just as kind of a
don't forget about him
at wide receiver, maybe. So not mad, just disappointed. So
I do want to talk about Traore here a little bit. This is a value I've gotten all off season, and I really do think there's just a shot that he is really, really solid for Mississippi State once again this year. We saw him do extremely well at Arkansas State. Hey, look at that. you didn't pick a lane at all, you smug son of a gun. You double tap. Hey, you know what? That's actually probably good because that could devolve into a committee situation, but it could be that one of those dudes pops off each week. You just don't know which one it's going to be, so now you've grabbed both of them. So I actually like that double tap in that room. But yeah, Traore, I'm still so surprised that more and more people aren't really getting in on Traore. I don't get why people are going after, guys like Terrence Carter, Dorian Fleming. I get it, because they are going to nice rooms that produce for us at tight end before, but they are G5 to Power 4 guys coming up. Traore has been in the Power 4 for a couple years now. He produced last year, right? Yeah, obviously Kevin Coleman kind of stole the show, but he looked pretty dang good. The only problem was he didn't get a lot of touchdowns, which I think fixes itself this year. And so, again, I'm just going to scoop up Traore pretty much any draft that I could possibly get him in. I'm shocked more people aren't in on him. Maybe y'all in the comments can give me a reality check of why I shouldn't be so in on Traore or Austin, because Austin's our resident hater.
I don't have an opinion on Traore. I know we kind of liked him a couple years ago, and then he's did the, I'll go to a school that doesn't use the tight end at all, and then like he's gotten around a little bit. I don't have like a strong opinion on him for this year. So, there goes Austin Simmons.
Justin, buddy. That's not. I need Fantrax to fix that as quickly as possible, because they gave that tight end Austin Simmons Jackson Dart's projections, and so
is that what happened?
Yeah,
I thought they gave him Simmons projections. I hadn't looked at them side by side.
Or not Jackson Dart. Yeah, Austin Simmons' projection, and so this is a tight end with like 3,000 passing yards. And I'm like, I need Fantrax to fix that as soon as possible, because that's leading some people astray. Justin, if you're listening, buddy, I'm willing to switch that out, because like I don't even think that's like tight end 4 on Washington. Is that a true freshman
I've never heard
this
of
year?
him.
I've
never heard of him until this. Yeah.
So yeah, oof. I need Fantrax to fix that pretty quickly. So all right, yeah, we're making great time. We're only about an hour 15 into this. We got 6 rounds left, so we'll have plenty of time for questions and everything post draft. We'll probably take a look at our drafts, talk about players that we think probably should have gone in a 30-round draft and stuff like that. But for those of you in the chat and everything, we're kind of dried up questions at the moment. Let's see, he wants Beers from Arkansas, or where is Beers? Oh, I need to fix that. Beers is not in my rankings anymore. Couldn't find him. No wonder I haven't been drafting a ton of them recently. He's not in my rankings. Need to fix that. But yeah, those of you in the chat, don't be afraid to ask some questions. Again, we're kind of finishing up here. Again, we love to talk about our picks all day long and everything like that. But if you guys got questions, go ahead and drop them for us. Let's see. I need to take a look at who's going to come here. You took Jordan Dwyer. We talked about that situation earlier. So you're just taking a shot on TC wide receivers. I got no problem with that.
Him and Jonte were my last 2 wide receivers I took. I mean, yeah, I'm just kind of dipping into wide receiver rooms that, maybe a little less settled than we think. So
no, for sure. Let's see. I think I'm gonna still wait on quarterback. I'm pretty stocked up on running backs, and I think I can wait a little bit longer to draft one of these guys that I like a little bit later on. So I think I'm kind of cornered into looking at wide receiver here. I still got 2 wide receiver spots to fill up. Who are some fun guys I could take it? Oh, you know what? Malachi Toney. I'll take that. It's my second true freshman that I've taken, so I'm not entirely sure how well I feel about that. And then I could take a tight end here. I think I'll wait a little bit longer there. Any quarterbacks that scream, you gotta draft them here. You know what? A fun upside pick. Let's go bounce back here for Kyron Drones, like 25th round. Why not? TJ Sunstein asks, do you see any flyers in the West Virginia offense with the new/old regime? Obviously, Jaheim White goes very early on. I have, quite a bit of faith in Nico Marchiol actually being able to hold on to that job. I know there's been some talk recently of them rotating quarterbacks, and yes, that is something that that we've seen Rodriguez or Rich Rod do in the past. But in terms of wide receiver, I think you have to take a look at Cam Vaughn in terms of, him coming up with them from Jacksonville State. It sounded like he performed pretty well in the spring there. Austin, is there anybody else, like recruiting-wise, potentially, that's at West Virginia that you could be interested in?
No, they haven't brought in a ton of exciting stuff, and none of them are Rich Rod's guys really anyway, so I'm a little hesitant to get – I know we really liked Rodney Gallagher a couple years ago. So, potentially, I think he kind of fits that Rich Rod's offense, generally speaking. But I haven't really been targeting any of the wide receivers there, and maybe I should be, because I have taken some Marshall, but I have not been.
You just took Brett Norfleet, the tight end out of Mizzou there. What do you like about him?
I mean, we really liked him last year, and then the injury kind of, unsettled him. I don't know that Bo Perbula is really any good. I think he's the kind of quarterback that might feed a tight end a little bit, especially coming from a school that, used the tight end quite a bit, and that's kind of what he's experienced over the past couple of years. And Mizzou has at times used the tight end in the past. They're under Drinkwitz and co. So as my third tight end, I don't know how much I'll even really be rolling him out there, because I did get what's his name earlier, Endries, who I'm kind of hoping, and Bosma I liked at his value too. But as the third tight end,
you did grab Bosma. That's really good value in the 19th round.
Yeah.
As a third tight end option, I like it. He's productive as a true freshman and everything. You can clearly tell they wanted to use him early and often, and I agree with you. Like, we have no clue what Pribula's passing capabilities really are in that offense, which is why I like Kevin Coleman, because he'll be in that slot. He'll get those short 8-aught targets. But Norfleet absolutely could be another one of those guys that's kind of eating over the middle. Definitely makes me a little bit worried about Marquise Johnson, because he looked really good at the end of last year. I just don't know if Pribula is going to be able to get him the ball.
I've been hedging slightly, and Pribula goes so late that it doesn't necessarily matter. But I've been pretty staunchly anti. I just don't think Pribula is any good. I think Missouri's just flushing money down the toilet because they paid up for him. But on the off chance that I'm wrong, which is very unusual, I have been taking Pribula late. He's sitting there. I mean, he's sitting there right now, and staring at me, mocking me.
I think I know what I'm going to do with these last picks. I'm looking at my team, and I got technically one quarterback spot left, one running back spot left, one wide receiver spot. And we still have 5 rounds, and it feels like I should have more spots open than I do. And so I'm kind of confused on where I want to go with this. I think I am going to hit my last running back on this turn. I say that with the heaviest of caution, knowing that I'm about to see a whole bunch of red pop up on this draft board because I say that. But I think, technically not. There's
Dallas Wilson has running back.
He does, and he's a sophomore, according to Fantrax, by the way.
He's like 6'3", 210.
Well, there's one of my running backs. Good job, Chalk. Dude, I told you. I said running back, and look at this. Look at this run right here. Oh, look, you took Barbie. Are you a Barbie girl, Austin?
In a Barbie world.
Are you only taking him because we've talked about him in the CFF Slack recently?
Yes. Long-time Barbie fan. Long time. Since childhood.
There you go.
I've got Barbie and I've got Barney on my team. I've got a 4-year-old girl from 1995's dream team.
Absolutely perfect. All right, I'm going to take my last running back here, and then I'll do another tight end here. I'm going to take a guy to stack with my Bryson Barnes pick earlier with Brock Lane, top returning receiving option for Utah State. I've done a bit more research into Utah State recently, and I kind of like some of the I like is a relative term, but some of their wide receiver transfers I think kind of flew under the radar a little bit, and we're starting to get a little bit more information now that camp's over, and there's some grapevine talk going on. I've reached out to some of the beat writers. And, they have some wide receiver options they're decently comfortable with, so it's not a total wasteland there. But one thing is consistent. Brock Lane will be a huge part of this offense. And I believe Mendenhall most recently said that he was shocked that Lane wasn't the first all Mountain West tight end option. Now, granted, you're competing with Gillenborg there, but you can tell that means they expect pretty high things for Brock Lane there. So I'll take that. I feel pretty good about my 3 tight end room there with Jolie, Traore, and Lane. You're on the clock again, Austin. What are you looking at here, man?
I just have 3 QBs sitting in my queue. I have pros and cons on both. I'll just go with Brad Jackson.
Great upside pick. Fantastic upside pick.
Yep. So, and I don't necessarily need. I mean, like I said, I kind of hit some QBs early that I really like. So, if he craps the bed, so be it.
All right, I'm gonna load up some QB picks as well. Austin Wood asks, how do you feel about Oscar Delp, Jared? I like the talent. I think he'll be better than he was last year, mostly because it was kind of an not under the radar thing, but you can kind of tell with some interviews with Delp and everything, him and Beck kind of had some beef. there was not a great relationship between those two. And so I'm kind of hoping that there's a bit of a better relationship between him and Stockton this year. But the problem is that tight end room's so loaded now because you got Lawson Lucky still hanging around there. Jaden Reddle's coming to his own. I mean, they just added Ethan Barber and Ellis Williams this year. Like, I really, as much as I want to say, like, with how talented all those guys are, that we're going to see another Brock Bowers, I just don't think we are. Like, again, there's just too many options for them to go to in that tight end room. Do I think Delp has, 405 touchdowns in him this year? Absolutely. Take him. I think he'll be there. I just don't know if he'll be a consistent week-to-week option for you. I think he'll have weeks like he did last year against Tennessee where, it's just the Oscar Delp week where he's getting 2 touchdowns. But there's also a decent chance you're going to have quite a few duds with him. But that's any tight end, really. So, like, what am I even complaining about there? I got you back, Austin. You were frozen there for a second.
I don't know what happened.
No, you're good. You're good. You are all good. I was just talking to Oscar Delp in the Georgia tight end room, so you got to miss all my Homer talk.
Whew, thank God. Yeah.
I'm curious from your perspective, Austin. Again, like, obviously I'm a Georgia fan. I was just talking about how, like, loaded the tight end room for Georgia is, and it seems like it's never really going to stop. Feels like every other week I see a new 4-star tight end committing to Georgia. But how do you kind of break down that room, like, going forward, just from a Devy perspective, also I guess from a college production standpoint, like Delp, Lucky, Ellis Williams, Ethan Barber, Jaden Reddle, like a ton of great guys there. Which ones do you think over time will separate themselves from the pack there?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I think Lucky is probably the best of the group. Just all around most talent, whatever that means. Oh man, I had 2 guys in my queue and they both went. I'm not high on either of the guys they brought in this year, just straight up, Elise Williams or Barber. I don't know that they're going to be factors this year. And I do like I said, Lucky and Delp both. And Reddle, I mean, I don't know, has he gained some weight? I think that was kind of one of the big questions around him.
Let me see. Let me see what he was last listed at. He is listed at, he's 6'4", 240.
6'4", 240. Wow. Okay, that's not bad then. Because he was light coming in. So I don't hate that for him either. Yeah, I think that top 3 are pretty good.
Love this string of wide receiver picks with Leland Smith, James Blackstrain, and Ra Thomas there. Chris Hudson could be interesting at Arizona. I just really don't know what to think of that offense right now. I am going to take a upside quarterback pick. I know I've been really big on Poffenbarger being the clear leader in that room, but there's still that voice in the back of my head that says maybe Messamaker gets it, and if he gets it, it is going to be, top 10 upside at quarterback. So I'll take Messamaker here in the 28th round. I'm kind of shocked he started to fall this late. I knew my voice carried power sometimes, but I was really thinking that Messamaker would still kind of stay as an upside pick in at least like the 15 to 20 range, but get him here in the 28th is kind of crazy. And then I think I'm going to have to grab another wide receiver here. Let's go upside in Anthony Eager here. It's been a while since I've taken a shot on him. I know Devin Voisin's kind of the favorite right now to lead that wide receiver room, but Anthony Eager is, I mean, how else do I say it? He seems eager to be that wide receiver 1 for South Alabama pretty early on. And so he'll fight for that chance to be the guy over Voisin. If Voisin's really not back from that injury, I could absolutely see Eager taking over at some point this year. So I'll take the upside there. And then Austin, you got 2 picks here left. Austin, what positions are you kind of looking at here?
I'm going to do one more quarterback, just to kind of round out the room. I've got 3 guys in my queue. I'll go Shapen. That offense, he's experienced in it. We'll see how that goes.
He was another quarterback that I was looking at there, especially for me to pair with Traore, just kind of get that stack there a little bit. And that is something I do like doing, especially like if I'm not sure what to do at tight end, especially. I will just take tight end, like who I expect the tight end 1 to be for some of my quarterbacks, right? Just to kind of get that double stack in case they ever, do link up with their tight ends. Unless it's like, a complete graveyard at the tight end position. right? Like it's an offense that never really uses the position. Like I'm not going to grab the tight end out of Western Kentucky if I have Maverick MacGyver, right? But Blake Shapen, Traore, I'll take that all day long. I did Brock Lane, Bryson Barnes for sure. And Eric appreciating my mess maker pick. Yeah, why not in round 28? Again, I'm big on Poffenbarger. I actually kind of regret not grabbing him earlier in this draft because he went. Where did he go? He was off the board at some. Where did he? Oh yeah, here he goes. Austin Woods took him in round 13. I kind of regret not taking him on this Ty Simpson, Coy Eakin turn there because the upside is just absolutely insane there. But again, Messemaker going this late, yeah, I'll take that shot, even though I think Poffenbarger wins out that job. Because maybe Poffenbarger loses the job at one point during the season. This is best ball, so I don't have to sit there and wonder like when that's going to happen. It's just whenever, if it does happen, boom, got top 10 quarterback upside every single week. Jay Remy asks, is Nick Harbor another fantasy landmine this year? Some are still high on him, but I am not sold on the role or the player. Yeah, definitely a very, just a disappointing player all around last year. I'm trying to see where did he finish at? Harbor, he finished as tight end 55, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, when you look at his weeks, he only finished with more than 10 points. Let's see, twice. Yeah, twice during the whole year. He should have a pretty solidified starting role locked in for South Carolina this year. So I expect a bit of an uptick, and the good news is because he has tight end eligibility, you don't need him to be, fantastic. If you can get 400, Eric, I know you're listening now, but you can tell me in the chat, but I believe it is like 40 targets, 400 yards, and 4 touchdowns. If you can get that out of Nicholas Harbor, you're doing fine. And I think there's a pretty decent path to Harbor reaching that this year, especially with some of the freshmen working their way into the lineup so far. I would hope that if those guys are getting to the lineup, that Harbor should be able to outperform those guys. What do you think, Austin, of that South Carolina receiving situation?
Yeah, I'm not a huge Harbor guy. I'm obviously not going to take him here because I like my tight end room, but I've been kind of in on Michael Smith. It sounds like the staff there likes him. So it's kind of like the tight end option. Can a Harbor line up on the field with another tight end? I'd have to look and see if I can find the splits for like how much him and Josh Simon were on the field last year together, but I don't know that it's.
Well, he's not playing tight end for them, right? He plays wide receiver, if I remember correctly.
No, but in terms of skill set overlap and what you're asking him to do, I don't think is that dissimilar to what they've generally asked Simon, and I think what they'll ask Smith to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wonder, can he coexist with another tight end actually on the field with him, even though he's, for all label purposes, not a tight end. So
a true Tito in Eric Roton fashion, because he has approximately 0% inline snaps in his 2 years at South Carolina. But like, I think there is a shot at him still getting that role, because as much as I've drafted Michael Smith quite a bit this year, he is injured. Like he missed a good chunk of the spring, right? And so if he's not healthy to start the year, I'll run out the clock here. Why not? If he's not healthy to start the year, then yeah, you absolutely could see Harbor taking over that role. And maybe they do just make him full time, that large slot target over the middle. So let's see. My last pick here. I got 3 wide receivers in my queue. I kind of want to do a fun pick, but I'll go not a safe pick, but he's got a super high upside if he continues his efficiency. That's Corey Milliner out of UAB. So yeah, we've reached the end of our draft. Wow, y'all did a great job with us, getting through this draft once again, about an hour and a half. I mean, I'm used to these things taking about 2.5 hours sometimes. You guys, I don't know if it's just the group I've put together the last couple of years, or last couple of weeks, but you guys have been flying these last 2 drafts. And so we got plenty of time here to discuss kind of some post-draft analysis here, Austin. We'll start with your team. You said this is your first full FBS draft of the offseason, Austin. Obviously, you've been doing a lot of C2C drafts and stuff like that. But, looking at your 30-man team here, how do you feel about it? What would you do differently next time? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think in retrospect, getting one more running back in the first 4 rounds probably would have been more of a priority for me. just to lock in another one of those guys. But I don't hate how the running back room ended up, especially for a best ball. I think I waited until the appropriate time for tight end, which makes me happy. I really only have hate with the passion, which was Rivers. I hated that range. I didn't like anything that was sitting there. And so that was kind of ended up being the pick. In retrospect, I wish I would have just taken Rodney Fields there, who was sitting and staring at me in my queue. But here we are. So
no, I think you did. I think you did a pretty good job for the most part. I do think that I agree with you that your running back room I think is a little bit shaky because again, like almost every guy I'm looking at here has the potential to either be a committee outside of Bryson Washington, either be a potential for a committee, or there's another guy in that backfield that could take over, or in the case of LJ
guy.
What'd you say?
Who's the BYU guy?
Well, okay, you didn't let me finish. I was about to say, or there's a potential for injury, right? And that's true for every guy, but LJ Martin specifically, the last couple of years, just hasn't been able to stay healthy, right? But your late round running back picks, I love the upside of all of these guys. Again, Derek McFall with the wide receiver eligibility, grabbing 2 of those Washington State running backs in that situation, I think is golden. Joshawn Barbie's a guy I'm starting to really kind of get in on at Marshall because, again, Rod Smith there as the offensive coordinator. For those that don't know, he was Rich Rod's right-hand man at Jacksonville State the last couple of years. And so obviously we saw Trey Stewart there. He's not afraid of a workhorse back. So Barbie's been a guy that's starting to get a little bit of buzz over there. And then Joe Nathan Silver, that was a guy that I was considering taking as my last running back. And then I took London Montgomery instead. But Silver was a guy that I considered taking as a potential 11th running back if he fell to me here in the 30th round. So great scoop up from you there. I like your late running back picks, honestly better than your early round running backs. And then wide receiver, a lot of fun guys: Burks, Boston, McEwen, Bond. Again, very good PPR guys all around. A lot of slot receivers you got going on here, but that makes sense in a PPR format.
Yeah.
And then my team here again, I've done too many of these, and I kind of know the guys I like and don't like. But for the most part, I think I like the situation I have here. I will say I'm a bit shaky on my quarterback room, even though again I went for the meme, took Sluka at everything. But let's see, I have 2 Power 4 quarterbacks, and then 4 Group of 5 quarterbacks, 2 of which may not keep their jobs the entire year, and one of which I'm banking on him. I'm having to bank on him improving himself on the depth chart compared where I think he's at right now. So I think that could come back to bite me pretty quickly in this draft. I love my running back room though. Parker, Cook, Durham, Reed, Brown, Turner, Green, Ford, Smith. Tons of a good balance of upside, I think, there with a lot of known guys. And then I talked about my tight end room already. I feel pretty solid about those guys. How do you feel about my team, Austin? Should I be a bit more humble about this?
No, I like your team. A couple guys like Lane was not a guy that was really on my radar. Listening to your explanation for him, I'll have to look into him a little bit more. And I think the one I'm a little iffy on Durham this year. I know all the CFF folks love him though, and I get it. It's a real deep room. I think there's a better chance for some touches siphoned away than maybe we're all admitting to ourselves at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So.
No, I mean, I definitely agree, right? Again, that was very much a talent play, and I will say I was a little bit iffy on him coming into the year as well, thinking that's going to be a bit more split than I thought, and, I think we're assuming too much there, but once I plugged him into my projections, he came out a lot better than I thought. I only got him projected for about 165 carries and 35 targets. That's enough to get him to 1,000 yards.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like that, or at least 883 rushing yards, but then you add on about 300 receiving yards, and bada bing, bada boom, there you go, 1,000 yards. So give him a full year. We'll see how you can go. TJ, I would love to run through every single one of these teams, but unfortunately, we're not going to be able to have time to do that. But what I will ask Austin to do is, besides our teams, Austin, what's a team that stands out to you as one that you've been pretty impressed by, especially on the latter portion of the draft? Obviously we kind of took care of this, front end of the draft here, but any other teams that really stand out to you? I can monologue here a little bit longer if you need me to look at some of these teams real quick.
Yeah, I mean, no surprise, but Debbie Warehouse, I kind of like his team from top to bottom. Just overall, especially his, kind of weight on QB and snag some real nice upside guys. I think is if one or two of those guys works out, then I think he's kind of cooking with oil. And then I know somebody said, like, from a strategic perspective, they liked what Chalk was doing, but they didn't necessarily like the players. I mean, I like his first. I don't really like the Gleason pick, but if you take that one out, I mean, I probably like 8 of his first 10 picks
Oh yeah.
quite a bit. And then some of the middle round stuff, I don't know like how much upside like a guy like Noah Whittington has, for example. But I mean, grabbing some of these guys that, if we've got the wrong running back or somebody gets hurt or something, like Lyle owning a backfield, Marshall owning a backfield, maybe even Riscano. I think I kind of like the potential upside for some of those guys in a best ball.
No, I agree. And honestly, Noah Whittington, I agree, is a bit of an underrated pick this year because if something happens to Mekhi Hughes, like, he'll be the RB1 for Oregon. Like, he's been their number 2 guy for a while. And I don't think they want him to be the RB1 at any given point, but like who else are they going to really go to? Who else in that backfield is somebody that they're going to trust?
And I would say Carp hit a couple of those backfields as well that I think could pay dividends. I've been really big on William and Jordan this offseason. But I do think, if something were to happen or whatever, like Eli Sanders in the 18th, if he actually ends up being the guy, is pretty cool value there too. And same with a guy like Price. If something happens to Love, we've seen something happen to Love. Sitting in some of those situations is nice.
I need to project Price and add him to my rankings because the more and more I think about it, especially with like them bringing in, or not bringing in, but with them starting Carr this year, a ton of rushing opportunities open for those two guys between Love and Price both. So I'm expecting Love to get more carries this year, but also, again, Price, clear RB2 behind Love, but at the same time, like, there's definitely some upside there that I don't necessarily think that we're talking about. And Love's got plenty of injury history. And so if he gets injured early on, like, Price could easily pop off there. So yeah, again, I agree. That's a great pick by Carp there later on. Let me see if there's anybody here that stands out to me. I will give a shout out to Dwight Peoples' start here. I'm not usually a big fan of wide receiver heavy starts, but again, grabbing Tyson and Ryan Williams early on and then getting Justice Haynes in the third, I think that's the way to start a wide receiver heavy draft. And then you get a guy like Yassine Willis later on, Dean Connors in a full PPR format. I don't even trust he's wide receiver or the running back 1 for Houston, but I bet you he'll have the most targets of any running back in that Houston offense, and they'll use him in creative ways like that. So a good shout out there. Let's see, anybody else here really stands out to me. J-Wall Buster, I like his start here quite a bit. A good balance between everybody. Henderson and Jordan's a really nice running back start there. Moulton, I probably would have waited a little bit longer on him, but a solid third running back there. Getting Veltkamp in the 5th was pretty crazy. I thought about taking him on the 4 or 5 turn here, but I wanted to see what kind of value could fall to me in the 6th at quarterback. But getting that stack with Messer and Veltkamp's really nice there. And then some of these mid-round picks I like quite a bit as well. Josh Hoover and Markey All are fantastic quarterback picks in this range. And then just taking shots on different rooms that we know are going to produce, like CJ Smith at Memphis, DeAndre Moore at Texas, CJ Daniels at Miami. None of those guys may be the wide receiver 1s for their teams, but they could have really big weeks, and this is best ball. You don't have to pick which weeks those guys are going to go off. So I feel pretty solid about that. So well done there, Joe. TJ Sunstein says, I see the vision having Hughes and Whittington there. I guess doubling down in the Oregon backfield. Yeah, did Carp grab both? No, he didn't grab Hughes. Yeah, if he grabbed Hughes or who grabbed
Whittington's
Whittington?
on
Chalk Exchange.
Chalk Exchange, I think.
Oh yeah, that's a great double tab, I think, right there. Because again, like, you've got that backfield wrapped up, and I think they're going to run the ball a ton this year. So yeah, good. Yeah, shout out Chalk. That's a great handcuff right there. So let's see. I think that's enough of that. Let's stop hyping people up here, Austin. One thing I do like to do at the end of each of these drafts, though, is talk about some players. Again, this is 30 rounds, 360 players have come off the board. And the great part of college fantasy is that there's still players on the board that we like, right? And so let's talk about some players that probably couldn't, in our minds, either should have come off or could have come off on the board that we think people should keep an eye out for in their next draft. I'll start at quarterback. A couple of guys. Connor Harrell at Charlotte. I've explained plenty of times why I like that Charlotte offense this year. I think Tim Melvin can get them going to year one. Joey Aguilar, I don't think he's the greatest quarterback in the world, even at Tennessee, but like I'm surprised nobody's taking a shot on a Josh Heupel quarterback there, because it's not like God, what's his name? The other quarterback there, not George McIntyre, the freshman, the Merklinger. It's not like Merklinger came off in this draft. It's not like, anybody, like zero Josh Heupel quarterbacks came off here. Luke Altmaier, I think, is a safer quarterback play than most people are kind of giving credit for. And as much as I don't like Drew Aller, I'm surprised nobody took a shot on him there. Gunnar Stockton's another guy I'm surprised didn't come off the board. And then an upside play I think that people are kind of forgetting here with the Retzlaff news, like McKay Hillstead is a runner. Like, dude can run. And so in that BYU offense, like if they kind of let him loose a little bit, I think that he could end up being a pretty solid late round play at quarterback. What about you, Austin?
Is it for sure Hillstead? I mean, I tried to read a little bit of stuff after Retzlaff left, and it seemed like while that was where everyone was kind of leaning, it was not necessarily a foregone conclusion. And I don't know that the rush upside is enough to maybe take that stab. I mean, I don't know. Have you heard that it probably is him?
I mean, nothing definitive, but that's kind of like where I'm looking at with that room. Like, let's go see what our handy dandy.
They've got Bachmeier.
They got Bachmeier. Who's Bach? Yes, they do have Bachmeier there. That's right. Trayshawn Bourget. Oh boy, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. Maybe it's not as foregone of a conclusion as I thought, because Bourget's probably going to have some kind of, I've got experience. Yeah, guess what, buddy? Not great experience. I can tell you that much. I'd rather it be Hillstead, but what about quarterbacks for you, Austin, that you think could have come off the board here?
I think you touched on all the ones that I was looking at. None of the other ones are particularly appealing that are sitting there staring me in the face.
What about running backs? I'll let you have first stab at that. Then, who are some running backs that you think could have come off the board here?
I did not have any left in my queue. For the record. So I don't have a great answer for you. I think any of the guys that you're looking to take would be guys that are maybe second running backs and are just kind of handcuffy, Pendergrass, and maybe I should have taken him with just to cover, my first pick there, or, a guy like Chroma, if he takes the job at Florida State, could be real valuable. Do we have the correct running back at UCF? Maybe someone should be taking him off the board just for S's and G's. Those are, any of these kind of, is if we have Iowa wrong, someone have taken Patterson. There's a couple of those guys on the board, but no one that I really think that highly up at this point.
I'm kind of shocked that nobody took Evan Pryor out of Cincinnati. I've typically seen both him and Tolly Walker go off in a similar range, so the fact that he made it through 30 rounds kind of surprises me. Other than that, I agree with you. There's not really anybody here that I'm shocked made it through 30 rounds. I would say Chroma is definitely one that surprised me a little bit, because a lot of people have kind of bet on his upside. And, Gus Malzahn RB1s have been great for fantasy the last couple of years. But, like, the top guys in my queue are, like, Quentin Jackson out of Rice, Hashan Wilson out of UTEP, Peyton Jones out of Duke, Jordan Brunson out of Miami of Ohio. If Felix was listening right now, he'd think I'd be making up names right now. So, yeah, I don't think any of those really surprise any of us as to why they're there. Wide receivers, top guys I have that weren't drafted, I'm kind of surprised by. Omega Blake out of Arkansas, a little bit of hype coming out of him. We saw Andrew Armstrong get peppered with targets on the outside last year, so I'm kind of surprised nobody took a shot there. Both of the... I guess Brennan Thompson did come off the board at some point.
He did, late.
Okay.
I think Justin took him, like 25th round.
25th. Oh, yeah, there he is, yep. So I was about to say both of the Mississippi State wide receivers didn't come off the board, but Anthony Evans, again, I'm shocked nobody took him there. I have moved Evans down a little bit, moved Thompson up a little bit in my rankings, because I'm not as sure as I was 2 weeks ago about who's going to have that slot role there, especially with Brennan Thompson being taken to SEC Media Days. Definitely, it's pretty clear that Lebby likes Thompson, wants to get him involved with the media. That tells me a lot there. Yeah, none of the Virginia wide receivers, especially given the fact that Malachi Fields and Malik Washington have been great in that system the last couple of years. I'm surprised nobody took shots there. Brady Cluse is a guy at Memphis. I'm surprised nobody took a shot on here, but very quickly, again, just seeing a lot of guys here that I'm not surprised made it through 30 rounds. What about you, Austin? Anybody stand out to you?
McGowan is the one that stood out to me that I did consider taking a couple times. If you believe in Harold, then I think McGowan could be the top guy there. And we've seen what Ted Alpin work some magic with those guys. So he was a guy that was in my queue and just kind of sat there. But with my wide receivers, I didn't want to go that direction with one of my later last couple picks there. So
dare I ask you, Austin, about tight ends that you think should have come off the board here?
So how about this? Like I've seen some people like Olsen Pat Henry from Clemson.
Yep. I'm
not there. So I just was curious if you wanted to talk at all about him as a guy that potentially could have come off the board. I'm not. I don't know that surprising to me that he's kind of considered the guy there.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where, again, everybody just kind of wants a piece of that offense over there, and he was in number 2 tight end behind Brenning Sewell the last couple of years. But Brenning Sewell, I really think I'm not sure that we could really consider that like a system play there, especially with them having 3 legitimate wideout options this year. The tight end position, I think, is going to take a pretty big step back for that offense this year. They'll target their talent more, and so I'm not really chasing a Clemson tight end too much this year.
No, I'm not either. I was interested to see that.
Brenningson was also like 6'6", like 210 or something like that. He was basically just a giant wide receiver over the middle.
He was allegedly like 235 or something by his final year on campus. Yeah, right. I think we all know. That probably was not true.
Where did he go in the NFL draft? Did he go?
I don't think he was drafted. At least
that's crazy. Actually, I guess I get it because he's not like built like a prototypical tight end, but still, like given how productive he was.
He's with the Chiefs, but he went undrafted.
That's crazy, actually. But then again, like I got tight ends in CFB 25 that I will put up 1,000 yards with, and then they'll be like 86 by the end of their senior year and go undrafted. I'm just like, all right, come on, game.
I thought Josh Simon might get drafted last year just because I thought his skill set's kind of intriguing, and I don't think he's even gotten a sniff of the NFL. So yeah, there's always one or two of those guys that I'm like, okay.
It again could be bombing an interview. Simon was injured towards the end of last year too, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, and like had been around for forever. Although not that necessarily matters at tight end. When we saw a 27-year-old, what's his name, get drafted in the first round a few years ago, Hayden Hurst or whatever. So happens.
Yeah. But, trust me, as a Falcons fan, I'm well aware.
I did not mean that. I did not mean to rub any salt in any wounds there. Very sorry.
Oh, don't worry. We got plenty of salt to be rubbed in our wounds, and it's not hard to unintentionally do so. All right. Guys, if you got any questions in the chat and everything, I see a lot of y'all are still tuned in and everything. If anybody's got any last minute questions and everything, go ahead and throw them in the chat. Otherwise, again, we can pop off early here. Again, made great time on the draft here today. You know what, Austin? I got a founder of Campus2Canton here. This is a great opportunity for us to talk about what can we expect from Campus2Canton going into the actual season here, because we're just under a month away. Or just over a month away from actual football content and everything. So this is a great place for people to start hearing. What are we planning?
Yeah, I think our normal in-season offerings will all be the same as they have been the past couple of years. We'll be doing the tailgate every Saturday morning. That 10 a.m. that kicks off Eastern time, the 2 hours before. Talking all sorts of stuff there. And then I think one thing that people don't really realize that we have is the draft tool and the roster management tool actually does a lineup optimizer for you every week as well that can help you set some lineups. A setting maybe for people that have that to check out. But I think everything else is going to be as usual. The waiver stuff and just kind of everything the normal flow of the week. It's funny, you look forward to the season, and by week 7 I'm like, damn, when is this going to be over?
It's that continuous cycle every single year of by the time the season starts, you're like, alrighty, enough talk, let's do this. And then the in-season grind starts, and then like you said, by week 7 you're like, shoot, we're only halfway through this. Again, we love the game. Don't hear what we're not saying. We love the game, but it is a lot of content to get through every single week. I will say on my end, I am hoping to get some rest of season rankings up earlier next year than I did last year. Again, I didn't really get that system really figured out until I'd say probably the last 6-7 weeks of the season. So I'm hoping to, I'll probably definitely avoid the first 2 weeks. I think I'll probably wait until we have about 2 weeks under our belt before I start plugging those numbers in and everything. Because you try to do rest of season rankings. Like, first of all, it's mostly going to be preseason rankings anyway. But for me to have like better in-season, rest of season rankings based on what's happened so far, we're gonna need at least about 2 or 3 weeks of like legitimately it's late. Give my brain a second. We need about 2 or 3 weeks of in-season production to really kind of give good predictions of what we're planning on seeing the rest of the way. So hopefully I'll get that system up. And again, I'll be doing the waiver wire article and show every single week. Again, if y'all want to give thoughts on this real quick, I will say the start-sit show is something that I feel like I need to dial back a little bit this year in terms of just me. Again, unfortunately, I had to grow up at one point, and I now have a 40-hour week job. And doing that plus my 40-hour week job, plus the waiver wire stuff and everything was just a lot on me last year. And so what I'm thinking this year is rather than get the questions ahead of time, I might just pop on for like an hour on like Tuesday or even Monday nights and just do a live stream and have people come in and everything. And maybe I just download and post that later on as a podcast version or something like that. Y'all let me know like down in the comments of this video if you're watching the replay or if you're in the chat right now. Let me know what you think about that, because again, I just don't know if I can do like a whole pre-planned show, research ahead of time, especially when I gotta have such a quick turnaround every single week. So y'all let me know and let me know what you think about that and everything. But I still want to get you guys start-sit content because I know that's important to you guys each week. But again, just trying to figure out what's good on my end as well. So TJ says live Q&A is so much better than planned show. All right, I appreciate it, TJ. That's great to hear. The one downside is like with a pre-planned show, I can do like a ton of legitimate research ahead of time and have some really good thought out answers for you guys versus like a live show. I feel like I'll be scrambling a little bit more. I have to kind of do it off the top of my head. Maybe that'll be better just to do it by gut feel sometimes though. So I don't know. Anyway, Austin, appreciate you so much for hopping on today, man. This was a ton of fun. Always glad to have our resident CFF expert on with me. Again, next year, I've done it with 4 out of 6 of our Campus2Canton founders. So that means either Chris Moxley or Jared Backus will be up next year. So that'll be fun. I have a feeling it's probably going to end up being Moxley because Jared
calling in at 2 a.m. from Paris. Yeah.
I will find the weekend that he is visiting America again. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, he may not be too keen on that. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see which one of them I get on here, or I'll have to get Colin on here next year. That way we can have an actual
restart the cycle.
Restart the cycle and get an actual competition between you and him about who can finish higher in a CFF draft. So. Again, appreciate you, Austin. Appreciate all of you guys in the chat. Make sure you check out this week's CTN. We'll be continuing our Crash Course series. I got on Justin Leo, aka Volume Pigs. We're discussing our running backs Crash Course series. So be sure to check that out. It was a ton of fun. It was a great show. Once again, going about 2.5 hours of just straight CFF running back talk. Tons of great stuff there. And then if you have not already, go check out Let Purple Rain's YouTube channel. We did the live stream for the 52 teamer draft. It was me, Joe Arpezi, John McKinney for the entirety of the stream. Eric Froton joins us with a couple guest appearances from Josh Chevalier and Elliot Mays, aka Bacon Fueled. That was a ton of fun. So if you've not checked that out already, go do that. That was a crazy deep draft. That was a ton of fun. So make sure you check that out. Until then, I'm tired. It is time for me to go to bed, and I got to be ready for work in the morning. So Austin, appreciate you. Appreciate all of you guys in the chat. Y'all have a wonderful and blessed week. See y'all.